Welcome to Cheater Fallout. Let us get started with today's story. My wife told me she was going to spend a month living with her ex-husband, and she said it the way you'd mentioned picking up dry cleaning. No shame, no hesitation, just a fact she'd already decided on while I was still pouring my coffee. I put the mug down slowly, because if I'd kept holding it, I think I would have crushed it. She stood there in the kitchen doorway, arms crossed, waiting for me to fall apart, and that was the part that told me everything. She wasn't confessing. She was managing me. Her name is Nora. We'd been married 4 years, together for 6, and for most of that time I believed I was the safest bet she'd ever made. I was steady. I paid the mortgage on time. I remembered her mother's birthday. I never raised my voice. I thought those things were love. Turns out, to her, they were just the reason I'd never leave. "It's not what you think," she said, which is what people always say right before it's exactly what you think. "Daniel and I have unfinished business. I need closure. A month, that's all. I'll stay at his place, we'll talk it through, and then I'll know." I asked her no what. She looked at me like I was slow, whether I made the right choice. "Marrying you. 6 years." And she reduced them to a coin toss she wanted to run one more time. I didn't yell. I've noticed that the people who love you brace for the explosion, and the people who've already left you brace for nothing at all. Nora wasn't bracing. She was checking her phone. So I said, "Okay." Just that. "Okay." Her head snapped up, and for half a second something flickered across her face that wasn't relief. It was disappointment. She'd wanted the fight. The fight would have meant I still thought she was worth fighting for, and my calm took that away from her before she'd even packed a bag. "You're not going to say anything?" she asked. "I think you've said all of it," I told her, and I went back to my coffee. What Nora didn't know, standing there so sure of herself, was that she'd made one mistake. She thought the month was her experiment. She had no idea it was mine. She left the next evening. Not with the drama I half expected. No slammed doors. No tears. She rolled a single suitcase to the door. The good one. The hard-shell one we'd bought for a honeymoon we kept postponing. And she said, "I'll text you." Then she was gone. Taillights sliding down the driveway toward a man she used to call her husband. The house went quiet in that specific way a house goes quiet when someone leaves and you already know they're not really coming back. And here's where most men would have started drinking, or texting friends, or driving past Daniel's place at 2 in the morning. I didn't. I opened my laptop because 2 weeks before this conversation, I'd already noticed something was wrong. Not with her, with the numbers. I handle our finances. Always have. And a month earlier, I'd gone to move some money into our joint savings and found it $3,000 lighter than it should have been. I told myself it was a repair, a bill, something I'd forgotten. Then it happened again, and again. Small withdrawals, spaced out. The kind you'd only catch if you actually read every line. So I'd started keeping a quiet record. I didn't accuse her. I just watched, and the night she drove off to find closure, I opened that record and understood what the money had been for. She'd been funding it. New clothes. A hotel weekend I never took her on. A deposit to a moving company 2 towns over. She wasn't leaving me for a month. She'd been leaving me for months. One withdrawal at a time. Using our savings to build the exit. The closure story was just the polite version. The one that let her keep me as a fallback, in case Daniel didn't work out. I sat with that for a long moment, and the strangest thing happened. I stopped being angry. Anger is what you feel when you still hope. What I felt was clarity. Cold and clean. Like stepping outside on a winter morning. The next day, I did 3 things. I called a lawyer. I opened a new account in my name only and redirected my paycheck into it. And I made copies of every statement, every screenshot, every withdrawal, and put them in a folder I labeled, simply, Nora. The lawyer's name was Priya, and she'd handled a colleague's divorce the year before, quiet and surgical, no theatrics. When I laid the folder in front of her, she flipped through it once and looked up. "She's been moving marital assets to a third party," she said. "That changes things. In your favor." I asked her how much. She smiled the way lawyers smile when the answer is good. Enough that you should let her keep believing she's in control for a little while longer. So I did. 3 days into her month, Nora texted. It was casual, breezy. A photo of a coffee cup and the words, "Thinking of you." Weird being here. I stared at it. This little performance of guilt designed to keep me warm and waiting. And I typed back, "Take the time you need." Nothing else. No questions about Daniel. No where are you. No when are you coming home. She'd expected me to interrogate her. My silence unsettled her more than any interrogation could have. By the end of the first week, the texts changed. They got longer. Daniel's not how I remembered. He's still charming, but there's an edge to him now. Then, I keep thinking about our kitchen. The way the light comes in. Then, the tell. "Are you okay? You've gone really quiet." I was okay. I was better than okay. While she was discovering that the past is a place you can visit but not live in, I was signing documents, freezing the bleed, and building a life that had a door she no longer had a key to. And then, at the start of the second week, my phone rang from a number I didn't know. I almost let it go. I'm glad I didn't. "Is this Nora's husband?" a man's voice asked, careful, tired. It was Daniel, the ex-husband. My first instinct was to hang up. My second, the better one, was to listen. "I don't want trouble," he said. "I just think you should know something, because she did it to me too." I sat down. He told me that Nora hadn't come to him for closure. She'd come to him with a plan. She'd told him our marriage was already over, that I'd thrown her out, that she needed a place to land while she got her share of the divorce. She'd asked him for money to bridge the gap, and Daniel, who'd married her young and divorced her once already, recognized the script immediately, because it was the same one she'd run on him years ago, right before she left him for me. "She trades up," he said, and there was no cruelty in it. Just a man who'd finally understood a pattern. Then, when the new one gets comfortable, she trades back for the drama. She did it to me. She did it to you. And I'd bet money there was somebody before me. I only called because I remember how it felt to think I was crazy. You're not crazy. The math is just the math. Before he hung up, he told me one more thing. He said that years ago, when Nora left him for me, she'd told him the exact words she was now telling me. That she just needed closure. That it was only for a little while. He'd waited 4 months for a wife who was never coming back, and he'd spent every one of those nights convinced the problem was him. "Don't do that to yourself," he said. "I did it for both of us." Then the line went dead, and I sat there in a kitchen that suddenly felt less like a wound and more like a place I got to keep. I thanked him. I meant it, because in one phone call, the last soft part of me, the part that still wondered if I'd failed her somehow, went quiet for good. She hadn't left because I was cold, or boring, or not enough. She'd left because leaving is the only thing that has ever made her feel alive, and staying gone was never the plan. Coming back was always the plan. Coming back to a grateful, wounded husband who'd take her in and feel lucky to have her. I decided right then she was going to come back to something very different. The third week, the panic set in. I could see it building in the text before she ever said it out loud. I made a mistake. Daniel's not who I thought. I miss us. I miss you. Can we talk when I'm home? And then the one that gave the whole game away. The one I'll remember for a long time. Please don't do anything drastic. Let's just talk first. Don't do anything drastic. As if I were the volatile one. As if the man calmly reading his bank statements were the threat, and not the woman who'd spent 6 months quietly hollowing out his life. I didn't answer for a full day. Then I wrote, "We'll talk when you're back. Come Saturday, 10 o'clock. I wanted a specific time. I wanted her to have to look at a clock and count the hours toward a conversation she thought she controlled. She showed up at 9:51. Same suitcase, but she looked different. Smaller. Tired in a way that sleep doesn't fix. She stepped into the house and stopped. Because it wasn't the house she'd left. I'd repainted the living room a color she hated. Her chair, the ugly velvet one, was gone to a donation center. The photos of us on the hallway wall had come down, not smashed, not burned, just quietly taken down and boxed, the way you clear out a room for a tenant who's moving on. "You've been busy," she said, trying for a laugh. I offered her a seat. No coffee. We sat across from each other, and she started the speech she'd clearly rehearsed on the drive over. How Daniel was a mistake. How she'd been lost. How she saw now that what we had was real, and she was ready to fight for it. Ready to do the work. Ready to earn my trust back. She reached across the table for my hand. I let her hold it for a second. Then I slid the folder over instead. She looked at it. "What's this?" "Clarity," I said. "In writing." She opened it. The top page was the divorce petition. Underneath it, she found the rest. The statements. The withdrawals. Every dollar she'd moved highlighted in soft yellow. The moving company deposit. The hotel. All of it laid out in the neat, patient order of a man who'd been paying attention the whole time. Her hand started to shake. "You've been tracking me. You've been robbing me," I said, without heat. "There's a difference. I was going to pay it back. You were going to come home to a man who didn't know," I said. "That's not the same as paying it back." She switched tactics then, the way she always did, from confidence to tears in the space of a breath. She said she was sick, that she needed help, that this was a cry for help, and I was punishing her for it. And a year earlier, that might have worked. I might have folded, apologized, taken the blame for her betrayal the way I'd taken the blame for everything. But Daniel's voice was in my head now. The math is just the math. I talked to Daniel, I said. The room went very still. He called me. He told me everything. About the money you asked him for, about the story you told him, that I'd thrown you out, about how you left him the same way you're trying to leave me, and how you always come back once the new life gets boring. Her face did something I'd never seen it do. It fell all the way, past the tears, into something honest. And for 1 second I saw her clearly. Not the woman I'd married, but the woman who'd been running the same loop her whole life, trading people for the thrill of the trade. "So what happens now?" she asked, very quietly. "Now you sign," I said. "The money you moved counts against you. My lawyer's been generous, considering. You keep your car, your clothes, your things. I keep the house, my savings, and the rest of my life. You go do whatever it is you do next, but you don't do it here, and you don't do it with me footing the bill." She looked at the papers for a long time. "I thought you'd wait," she said. "I know," I said. "That's exactly what I was counting on." She signed. Not that day. Her lawyer stretched it out a few weeks, the way they do. But she signed. And there were no appeals, no midnight confessions, nothing left to trade with, because I'd stopped being for sale. That was 4 months ago. The house feels like mine now, because it is. I take my coffee on the porch in the mornings, and the quiet doesn't feel like absence anymore. It feels like room. A few weeks after the papers were final, I drove out to a little coastal town I'd always meant to visit and never had, because Nora hated the ocean, and I'd let that become my opinion too. I sat at a diner counter, and a woman named Elena asked if the stool next to me was taken. We talked for 2 hours about nothing important, about bad movies and good bread and the towns we'd each been meaning to see. She didn't ask what I did for a living or whether I owned my house. She just laughed easily and let the conversation go wherever it wanted. I didn't marry her in my head. I didn't plan anything. I just noticed how light it felt to be wanted for the afternoon instead of kept for the emergency. Driving home, I realized I hadn't thought about Nora in 3 days. She'd become weather in someone else's city. I heard through Daniel, of all people, that Nora landed somewhere new, someone new, and I felt nothing but a distant, honest hope that whoever he is, he balances his own accounts. Daniel and I aren't friends, exactly, but we understand each other, and there's a strange peace in being understood by the one other person who lived the same story. People keep asking if I'm angry. I'm not. Anger is for people who still want an explanation, and I got mine, over the phone, from a stranger who used to be her husband. What I feel instead is something close to gratitude, because she showed me exactly how little it takes for me to be traded away. And now I know never to hand that power to someone who's just looking for a fallback. She thought the month was her experiment, a test to see if the past was better than the life she had. She never understood that I was running an experiment of my own, and that mine had an answer she'd never see coming. My wife told me she was going to spend a month living with her ex-husband, and she said it the way you'd mentioned picking up dry cleaning. What she didn't know was that I'd already picked up mine, folded it neatly, and set it by the door for her to carry out on her way to a life that no longer had my name in it. Thank you for watching. Until the very end, wishing you happiness, peace, and a wonderful day ahead.